Welcome to Dogwood Springs Outdoors. I'm Jim. If this is your first time to the channel, I'm glad you found us. So we're just got a small piece of property here, about 30 acres in North Mississippi, and what we do on the channel is just kind of show you what we're doing, what we're working on to maintain the farm, and little projects, how-to things if we have to do maintenance and things like that on equipment that might be helpful to people. Today we're doing something I'm really excited about. We've got our Alaskan chainsaw mill set up here, and this is the first time that I have used it. Like I said, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and finally have all the tools together, and the weather's cooperative and my health is cooperative, so we're gonna give it a try. And you know, as we go through, we'll kind of show you what we're doing and the equipment we have and talk about that, and hopefully we'll get some good pieces of wood out of this. We got a couple of red oak logs. They're about 9 feet long, I think, and about 26 inches or so in diameter. We got an Alaskan mill. It's a Granberg, which there are a lot of knockoffs, a lot of Chinese made things, and I decided, even though you're looking at a Chinese made saw here, I wanted the Granberg mill. I felt more comfortable with it, using it. And we got our guide bars here. You can use a level, not level, you can use a I'm looking at my level there. You can use a ladder, you know, a lot of people do that if you have that, and these, you can usually add extensions to these, which this is 9 feet, and I do wish I had another 3 feet on there, and I might get that at some point when I'm able, but we're just going to see how it goes and see how if I'm able to do what I want and how long it takes and all that. But we got it set up, we got it level, and my back did not like that. Let's see what we got. Oh, it's heavy. I tell you, first cut sucked pretty bad. First time I used that, you can tell all the ridges. And then when I started off and had to back out, it's because it wasn't level. The mill wasn't mashed down on the rails. It wasn't level, so that's when I had to back out and got all these gouges in it from backing out and restarting. So it's pretty rough. And then here at the end, it goes downhill, where I ran out of rail and had to push it out. So, and I may have to do another one with the guide. But anyway, it actually cut through it. I'm happy with the saw. It cut through it a lot faster than I was expecting. I may cut that thin, the next one thin, and then try to use that for my sticks. That's the underside of the board we just took off. So it looks like mostly it's just the stopping and starting. And I think I probably let off. There's probably some lean with the weight difference. It's just going to take some practice. My main problem was my chain in that one. So the good news is that we're improving. That's what we want. We don't want to be getting worse. We want to be getting better. That's a lot better cut there. You can see. I'll try to pour some water on it, but that, I mean, you see the chain grooves, but it's so much better than that. Just to show y'all real quick, I mean, you can kind of find this everywhere, but I just bought a $20 winch, or I think it was even 18 or something like that, off eBay, and just a 600-pound winch. It came with cable on it, and I took that cable off and put a paracord on there, and really all I had to do, well, I had to do more than that. I flipped the bolts, the head of the bolts were on everything was on this side, and I flipped it out and swapped them out with carriage bolts that would slide in my guide there. And then I even, with the ones I had, well, one of them at least, I had to grind down the top of that carriage bolt so it would fit and slide well enough with the bigger one. These were two different size bolts. Some people just, I think, put one in, but it was a whole lot better to do both, and it will rock, but it's not, say, it's not an issue when you're actually using it. And then you just, when you spool it on there, you just got to make sure that you wind it opposite of whatever way is comfortable with you when you're going to be cranking the winch, you know, and working your mill, and just set it up to where the handle is not going to hit that bar. So much issues with my saw. It flooded yesterday, and badly, and I didn't know what it was. So I ended up having to take the spark plug out and turn the saw upside down, thanks to some friends on Facebook with advice for that, and get the excess fuel out of the cylinder, drive the spark plug out, and it cranked right back up. But it was still, I mean, it wouldn't even start after it's Saturday. It was that badly flooded last night. But anyway, we're back operational, and so far so good. Just got to get my chain right now, and I think we'll got the winch figured out, and we'll be making good progress. So just to wrap up on kind of some of the things I learned, so it's not just a watch and guess what's going on kind of thing, I wanted to talk about a couple of things, particularly the winch, because I realized I didn't really go over the issues that I was having with that at first. And so what was going on there is, when I first hooked it up and started cranking it, I did not have the saw power head right up against the log. And as soon as you start cranking the winch while you're running the saw, it wants to, you know, pull it up there hard. It kind of jumps up against there, and I just had it in my head that didn't, you know, didn't need to be bad. It was going to bind up against there and wasn't going to run right. So I'm wrestling with it back and forth, and I'm trying to keep it away from there. But you can't do all of that with two hands. You need a third hand to operate it. So it was just every time, you know, I'd get in a spot and it'd bind up because I had cranked the winch too much. So anyway, what I eventually figured out there, and I'm sure if I'd have done more research, I'd have known this anyway, but I do like to just learn some things on my own. I'm hard-headed that way, I guess. But it was fine. You know, it's not a problem because it's not going to bind. It's not like you're working with those saw dogs are going to get up there and grab if you even have them on your milling saw. But the mill itself, the guide is not going to let the saw get up on top of it like that. So it actually is better. So once you start cranking and it pulls the saw in like it was doing right up against the wood, that's just fine. And so once you could get it there and, you know, start running a constant speed and just cranking that winch handle as evenly and steadily as you can, as far as you don't want to go too fast. It'll bind up if you get going too fast on the saw, even with a big saw like that. But I'll put links in the description to the equipment that I had on there, as far as the mill and the saw that I'm using. It's a Holzfforma saw. It's a 660. It's a copy of the Stihl MS660 or 661. The parts are interchangeable on that, and it was about $1,000 less, and so that's why I ended up with that for what. I'm not a professional, but I wanted to do this, and so that's kind of the reason I went that route, and I've been really happy with the saw so far. And one of the things that was surprising to me is it's a really big gas tank. I'm not sure exactly how much it'll hold, but it goes through some gas when you're milling. I mean, it was like I ran out of gas a couple times in, you know, mid-cut on a plank. So that's another thing. But you really want to work on and making sure that you're and all this information is out there. I'm just really telling you this because this is what I learned, and if you happen to see this before you see something else, maybe it'll help you if you're looking to get into milling. But that you really got to make sure that your bars on your mill are flat on the guide going down through there, and it's easy because the power head is heavy, you know, for it to lift that end up and it not be flat. And so eventually when you get off the guide and you're on the wood, you can just kind of check and you'll see you're pushing the sawdust along, and if you're pushing it, you know, evenly all across, that's a good sign as far as you're where you need to be on the settings. But anyway, that's a couple of things I picked up just my first time. I know I'm very much a rookie at this, and I'll be learning for a long time, but I hope to do it for a long time because I think I got the bug now, so to speak, and it's fun. I mean, it's work, and it was a whole lot easier there. I mean, I really wish I had a place where I could elevate the logs, because I can't, you know, lean over and do that. On that last couple, I just got on my knees and walked down there, and that actually worked pretty well between the sawdust and the chaps that I had on. That was pretty good padding for my knees, and just eased down through there, and that didn't hurt my back at all going that route. So I think that should cover it for today. I don't want this to be too long, but thanks for watching if you stayed with us this whole time, and hope you'll hit that like button and subscribe if you want more content like this, and come back and see us.